Hey everyone, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. So as you may know, I am rounding the end of my pregnancy, which means my baby shower is coming up. Actually, at this time, it just passed. So we are going to be making this wood guest book for the shower. So this has removable flowers that they're going to sign and put in here. And I have it in a frame so that this can be displayed in our baby girl's room going forward. So we're going to be using acrylic from Cerulean Tides, wood from Woodpecker's Crafts, and then a custom design made by Chameleon Cuttables, Sabine at Chameleon Cuttables. So we're going to be setting this up and making a beautiful guest book for a baby shower. So if you're excited about this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you want to make sure you don't miss any more uploads, please make sure to subscribe. And don't forget to check the link in the description to see how you can save up to $500 on a new machine. Alright, so I'm in Zillet Studio. I have my file opened up. Now Sabine graciously gave me two different versions with the flower in the middle. One is just a score line, so a simple line right here, and the other one will be a line that you can engrave. So I went ahead and did the score line because we're going to have a lot of lines in this anyway. So I just kind of want to consolidate how many lines I have and how long my job is going to take. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up to work within my space. Just to make it easier, I'm going to set up my workspace to be 15 by 15 inches. Obviously that's too large for Glowforge, but it gives me a better idea of how much space I have, and I just find it less cluttered. I also go to my page setup and I turn off my machine, so I click machine and none here. That gets rid of the lines and the arrows and all that fun stuff and kind of gives you a clean workspace to go off of. So before I do anything else, I'm going to take my design for now and I am going to group it. So I'm going to grab my entire design, right click, group, or you can do Control G group if you want to as well. So we have this set right here. Now I'm going to create my square, my rectangle for my base of the design. Now if you're going to do this on a piece of wood or I don't know, something else where you're not cutting out your flowers, you can skip this step, but I'm going to be cutting this out using 1/8 of an inch woodpecker plywood. So I need my base to cut. So I'm going to use my rectangle tool, draw whatever, I don't care because I'm going to type in my dimensions. So up here we can type in our dimensions. I'm going to take out my ratio lock and I'm going to make this 10.5 inches wide and then 14 inches tall. So when we go to cut this, it'll be rotated, and 10.5 is kind of the max that we can do vertically on our Glowforge. So we're gonna go ahead and set it to that, and I did check with my frame, it will fit in my frame, so I'm good there. I'm gonna take both of them, my square and my group of flowers, and hit this button right here. This will center each on each other. We can hit that. And now I'm going to move this to the middle of my workspace. Okay, so if you look, my flowers are too big. I haven't resized them yet. So I'm going to go through and turn my ratio lock back on. And just because I was testing a lot, I did figure out a good width for this, which is 8.418. Now this is not a set in stone thing. You will adjust it based on your workspace and what you need. This is to fit into the frame that I have. So we have it set right here. Nice, gorgeous white space all around it. And now I'm going to customize the flower. So you can do whatever you want for this part. You could take the flower out and just do a message. I'm going to put her name in there. So I actually was testing out some fonts earlier. And I really like this font right here, Kaylee Latif. I don't know. I'll link it in the description. I chose this font because I like the romantic look to it. I like that it doesn't taper too much on either side, but also I can easily repurpose this for her nursery sign. So I want to kind of match fonts as best I can. And so I wanted something beautiful, timeless, probably timeless, and romantic. So I'm going to grab this, do Control C copy, and then I'm going to paste it into this workspace. And the reason why I did that is that I want to keep that name in there for when I start working on my nursery sign. So now I'm going to take this and shrink it way down because I'm going to have it go on my flower right here. So I want to be careful because this flower is going to be cut out for my guest book. So we're going to take this and shrink it more so that it doesn't overlap with our flowers here. And I know that it looks really busy. Don't worry, we are going to correct this and it's going to look really good. So I want to treat my flower on the inside separately from everything else in here. So I'm going to right click and ungroup everything over here. So now I'm ungrouping my entire design. The reason why we had it grouped is because I wanted to resize it together, but now that we're done with that, I can go ahead and ungroup it. So I'm going to do my select zoom, go back in here, and then you see I can click on my flower. And you can see we have a layer with the color and then a layer with the outline. Because this is going to be scored, I actually don't even need that color in there, so I can delete it for this. And so now I have the base of my flower right here. So now what we need to do is we need to create space. You can see we have a lot of lines all over the place, so we need to create space so that there's contrast. So the way that we do that is we use offsets and subtracts. So I'm going to go over here to the offset panel. It's on the right side, it's a star with a line around it. And we'll go to offset, and then we'll choose our distance. So we have a small distance to begin with. I'm going to start with a little bit of a bigger distance. I'm going to do 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. Hit apply, and you can see we have it pretty big. Now, it does overlap with this flower right here, but what it's going to do is it's just going to subtract from here. So let me fill it in so you can see what this offset really looks like. So you can see it's actually kind of big. I think we'll lose some detail with our flower. So let's go ahead and just delete it, and we're going to redo our offset. So let's go to offset, and then let's choose a distance of 0.08. There's no real math to this. This is me just trying to kind of go different increments and go from there. And I like filling it in like I just did because it gives me a better idea of how this is going to look. So I can even grab my name here, grab my offset. I held down shift to grab both of them, and we could try to rotate it. I don't like that. I'm gonna go back. Let's bring it down just a little bit, because I want to see the middle of that flower. So before I do anything else, let me zoom out so I can see how it looks as a whole. I think it looks fine. I prefer that, so we're going to do this. Again, this is something that you can decide whatever you want. And don't forget the undo button exists. So I'm going to click off of it to deselect everything. I'm going to click on my offset. I'm going to hold down shift, click on my flower in the background, and then go to my modify panel over here on the right. So you can see we have our modify panel. I am going to choose subtract. This will take my offset and subtract it from the bottom like a cookie cutter. So we'll do subtract. So you can see we have, it took out quite a bit right there. So you can see we have some gapping right there. So I don't super love that. So I'm going to hit Control Z. And we are going to delete this initial offset for now. Let's bring our Elizabeth back up. And let's kind of try this out with a smaller offset. So again, this is all a matter of testing for you guys. So I'm going to drop it down to 0.04. Hit apply. And again, you guys saw that I just did a bunch of Control Z undos. It's the process that we use for something like this. So I'm holding down shift, grabbing the background, and subtract. So again, you kind of find which one you want. I'm just going to leave this in here for you for the testing because I think it's kind of cool for you to see the process of how we do this. So Control G group. And so now you can see we have her name in there. So we're going to zoom out. And we have that set right there. And we have her name in the middle. I'm going to select zoom to go in here. Now, one thing to keep in mind is once we are done cutting and I have it masked, I might go in and paint this too. So I did delete that little flower on the inside, but this could be painted pink as well. I haven't fully made up my mind, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and set this up for cutting. We're gonna have different functions in here. We're gonna have score, engrave, and cut. So we need to set everything up with different functions. And so I'm gonna use my select by color option over here, and we're gonna go by fill. So you can see we have by fill right here. We have our pink. You can see they're all selected in here. I'm gonna click back in here. Control G, group. We're grouping our pink together. Now this looks like the fill. It is the fill when we're looking at this, but this is actually going to be our cut line when we go to cut this. So we're gonna go over to our line color, the top left. I'm changing it to pink to match. So you can see now it has pink. So that now we're gonna do by line color black. And you can see we have a couple things in here. It looks like it's grabbing my name and the flower. So I'm gonna hold down Shift, click on the name right there. So now I have, let's click and drag. So that's my leaves and my flower. I'm gonna go ahead and Control G, group, because I want them to be scored as well. So we'll go ahead, choose a random color, green, which that's not really random because the leaves are green, but you know, whatever. And then we'll do our last one, which are this last fill, which you can see this is the line for our flowers. Control G, group. And then I'll go ahead and change that line color to like that gray as well. The actual line colors don't matter. They don't count, like they count, but it doesn't matter which one you choose because it's just to make them different. So you can see we have that all set in there. And then I have one step that I should have done sooner, but I almost forgot. This is still a font, which means we have overlapping lines, which we do not want. So we're gonna go right here, weld. You can see it's welded together. The little dot's separate, so I'm just gonna right click, group. And then I'm just gonna keep that line color red because that is actually going to be engraved. So I want that to be nice and thick, so I'm not gonna do the score line. The score line is what's going to just go really quickly. And then last but not least, I'm gonna change this line color to like a tan, whatever, because this is a cut line. Nothing, well, we have our flowers are gonna be cut, but then nothing else is gonna be cut besides this outline. So I'm gonna do that as a separate job at the end. So now you can see I have my whole design ready. I'm going to click and drag, select the entire thing. And we have Silhouette Studio Business Edition. This allows us to export as an SVG. So we're gonna go over here, save selection, save to hard drive. And then you'll just choose where you want to save it. Just make sure you have SVGs selected. So I'll save this and I'll see you in Glowforge in just a second. Okay, so I'm in Glowforge. Let's go ahead, click upload a file. And then we'll choose our file and it'll process for a little bit. So we'll choose our SVG. You can see in the bottom right, it's processing. So we'll let that go for however long it takes. Now you can see that it's opening a new workspace for me. This is where I'm going to choose my settings and do all of my editing. Okay, so we see we have it in here. This is really good. We can see here are our leaves, name, inside flowers, like the colored part, the outside of the flower, and then the overall look of, well, not the look, the overall cut of our design. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, select my design, and I'm going to rotate by clicking Shift and rotating so it rotates at 45 degrees. And while I mess with my settings, I'm going to hit these three dots here, set focus, and put it onto my wood. So I'm using a sheet of 1/8 inch birch plywood from Woodpecker's Crafts. You can get it at the link below. I love their wood. I've been using a lot of it for the shower, and so it's been working really, really well. So let's go ahead, kind of drag this over as we can. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to enter the setting for my cut. The reason why I'm doing that is that if I set it to birch, the preset that I have in here, so my cut settings for birch are speed 140 and full power. Now you may need to adjust as you go based on, you know, your masking, how much use your machine has had, etc. And so the reason why I also turned on that setting is because once you have something set as cut, that line will turn this like coral color. And so if it's not within the acceptable cutting area, it'll actually take that color out. So you can see how it changed to dotted. So when you have a setting in there and you move it around, it'll give you an indication if it's in the safe cutting area. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up all of our settings in here. So right here, I'm going to go over and do some scoring. And I'm going to choose birch, not masked, because I want it to be kind of light but not too light. So birch, actually, I'm changing my mind a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to do birch masked, which just is something that I adjusted to make the power a little bit higher. And as I said that, I regretted it, so I'm going back to birch. So with the score line, it only passes through one time. I'm going to do a speed of 200 and a power at 15. And then I'm going to jump up and choose this. These are my score lines for my for the flowers. So we're going to go ahead and do birch for that as well. And then we are going to go over here. This is going to be a cut. This is my birch setting, which I shared earlier. And then we'll go through, and then the name is going to be engraved. And then we'll choose birch for the engrave. So for engraving in birch, I do speed of 800, precision power 50. So the order you see these in is the order that the jobs are going to go. So I always like to do my cuts last, so they're going to be at the bottom. And then you can see we have our cuts and engraves here. So I'm actually going to do my scores first, then my engrave, then my cuts. So now you can see everything has a color in there. It looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and print. So we're going to let this process. This will probably be a decent job. The good thing about scoring is it just passes once, so it's very quick. But we do have the name engraved in there, and there are quite a few lines, so you know, it can go quite a few ways. Okay, so you can see it's a really big job. There are lots of lines in there. There are ways you can tweak it to make it faster by doing no engrave, but this is like a really important project for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it for an hour. So I will see you soon. Hi, so I'm in Silhouette Studio. I decided after the fact that I want the name to be cut out in white acrylic. So what I'm going to do is I am going to modify this name ever so slightly. So whenever you cut something out on your Glowforge, you have a tiny bit of shrinkage from the laser, from the burn. And so I recut this board too. So the name is actually scored right now. I recut it because I stained it and I didn't like the stain. But I'm going to do a slight offset. This is so that you don't see the score line behind the name, but also when you cut out things like script fonts in acrylic, they can tend to be really brittle, and so if you offset it just a little bit, it gives it a little bit more stability that you need. So I went over, clicked offset on the right. Let's start really small at 0.04. Even that is a little bit big, so we'll do 0.02. And then let's hit apply. So if you look, let me move her name out here. Her name will now be just a little bit thicker, not too much. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to bring this dot, because it's so close to the name, I'm going to bring it down just a little bit and weld it. That way it doesn't burn really weird, and also those little dots get lost in the machine so easily, so I might as well join it to begin with. So you can see the name right there. So I'm going to keep this selected, go to File, Save Selection, and I'm just going to save that name. So I'll put it in the same folder, and then we'll open it in there. All right, so here's the file that I cut it with. I'm actually going to take this, and I'm going to ignore all these other parts, because that's my previous cut. I'm going to grab this whole background, Gonna right click, group, oh, it's already grouped. And keep it grouped in there. Now, I'm not really gonna cut this again, so I could just delete it, but just for the sake of today's video, I'm just gonna move it to the side. So I'm gonna hit these 3 dots, click set focus. I'm gonna set the focus on my board. So I have white acrylic from Cerulean Tides. I have 3M masked on the back, and you can see that I did a previous cut on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the name. And because I have 3M on the back, I actually am going to take this and flip it. So I'm going to flip horizontally. I believe that's a Glowforge Premium feature, so if you do not have Glowforge Premium, do not despair. You don't need it. You would just reverse it before you export it out from your software. So I'm going to put it right here. This looks like a good spot that it'll fit. And then we are going to cut. So we're going to cut. And then you can see I have lots of presets that I put in here. You can do one that works for you. I have found that with 3M, if I cut at 120 speed at full power, it seems to cut through pretty well for me. Now you can adjust as you see fit. It'll really depend on how old your machine is, how dirty it is, your material, that sort of thing. So make sure you do test cuts as well. So we're all good right there. We're gonna go ahead and print. And I will see you in just a couple minutes to assemble. Alright, so here is my board. So full disclosure, I redid it because I did not like the pink that I did for this, and I didn't like it engraved because I want to put a piece of acrylic on top. But I have it here, so I used Danish oil just to finish it off. I used it in natural. So you can see here's the back, you know, raw wood. And then just finished. It gives it a nice sheen, but it doesn't darken it too much, which is, you know, one thing that I really didn't want. So here's my acrylic name. So this had a masking. I took the masking off, and then here is my 3M on the back. So all you have to do is simply peel off the back masking, the back of the 3M. It comes up just like a sticker. So I'm just gonna peel it like this. And you know, I painted it right here. So now I'm just gonna take that score line and start lining up my name. And I might have to turn this because I'm looking at this upside down for the camera. Let me just peek. So I'm just adjusting this to make sure you don't see the score line. I did do, as you saw earlier, a slight offset of this, so that way the name cutout is larger than the score. Okay. So check that out. I think it looks really cute. And so what I'm going to do is I have my frame here. Okay. And so I actually painted the backing. So you can see right in this corner here, that's the original color. So I just took a cream color and did one quick coat. So it looks like this linen look. I thought it looked better behind here. It doesn't really matter because we're gonna put the pieces back in once the guest book is done, but just for display beforehand, I didn't want it to be kind of brown back there. So I'm gonna find my placement in here. My board is, you know, larger than the area, but I need to just adjust it to make sure my name is straight. Well, not my name, but Elizabeth's name. And then I already forgot which way is the top, so I'm just gonna gently lift this way. Okay, this is the top. You know, pregnancy brain. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, pop this back in here. So we'll do it this way because this is the top. And then just close it. I think all of you have closed a frame before. If not, this is how you do it. And so this frame I got from Michael's. I'll be honest, I got it a really long time ago because they were clearancing out this frame. So I bought a bunch of these and it sat for Probably years, if I'm being honest. But hey, I'm using it now, so when in doubt, buy the craft item, because then you can tell whoever, hey look, I actually used it. All right, so here is our frame. I think it looks really cute. And then the hardest part will just be putting these back in here. Of course, I chose like the most complicated way to do this, but why wouldn't I? So you can make it a fun activity after the shower to put these back in. If you like puzzles, this works out really well. But the great thing about this file is you can do it a couple different ways. So if you don't want to go through all this hassle, if it's hassle to you, then you can very easily just keep this as like an engrave in there and have people write in there. So you can see we have our cute little flower here. I think it's the opposite way. There you go. So they'll sign it and put it in there. And then once it's all done, it'll be all filled up and beautiful. So let me go ahead, come back out so you can see the whole thing, and I will go over what I used for this. All right guys, so here is our final guest book. So this is actually after the shower. I had it this past weekend. I got a few more that I need to just put back in, but you can see I have my little names in there, and it went into this frame really beautifully. So I'm super happy with how this turned out. I got so many compliments on it, and it really means a lot to me that Elizabeth is going to grow up with this in her room, and she'll be able to see the names of people who came to celebrate her. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much to... Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Thank you so much to Chameleon Cuttables for this file. Make sure you write her and ask her to list it. I don't think she's listed it yet, but if you like this, you should tell her you like it. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more uploads. And if you're ready to get a Glowforge of your own, don't forget to find the link in the description to save up to $500 on a new machine.